I don't think we're on random encounters anymore, Mr. Meows. Can you hold still for my funny bit? Please. Welcome to my new channel. What are we gonna do here? In general, make stuff. For a little bit over a year now, I have been doing sewing videos on random encounters, showing how I make costumes, and I've had a ton of fun with it. I wanted to have even more fun, so I made myself a list in code for completely mischievous reasons of personal projects that I would like to make, so I'm gonna make them. What are we doing here today specifically? I would like to make this sweet little spring dress now that it is officially summer and 110 degrees outside. I found this bumblebee fabric a couple months ago, and full disclosure, I already tried to make a dress out of it and it failed completely, so most of the fabric is used up. This is all that's left. If my second attempt doesn't work, I have doomed myself to a bumblebee-less life. I also started my second attempt before I decided to film this, so we are gonna be diving right into the middle of things. Hope you don't mind.
This is what I have so far. If it looks like a t-shirt, that's because I made it by tracing a t-shirt, though I did make myself a pattern in the middle because I thought I might do it again. It looks like this. There's also, surprise, a lining. I rescued a few skirt pieces from my first attempt, but I'm going to need more because I made a plan and it demands more. So I folded what I had almost in half and used them to cut out 2 more curved sections from this yellow fabric, and then I cut out a few more. I pinned my skirt pieces into a circle, alternating green and yellow, and then sewed them all up. At the end, I had a skirt, and surprise again, a skirt lining. I measured the bottom of my skirt, doubled it, then used whatever number that was to measure and cut a very long rectangle. I wanted a large ruffle for length and general swooshness, and ruffles don't look like ruffles until you use at least double length pieces. To be honest, for maximum ruffle, I would go with 3 or 4 times, but I'm running out of fabric and this skirt is already a bit heavy considering how stretchy it is. I had to cut out my rectangle in 4 pieces to get the right length, so I sewed them end to end with French seams. What does that mean? First, I sewed them wrong sides together, cut away the seam allowance, folded it back on itself, right sides together, and sewed a second seam right next to the first one. Then, voila, mon chéri, all my raw edges were tucked inside a pretty little finished seam. I don't think that was French at the end there. Usually I would have ironed that seam flat when I folded it back, but it's not necessary here because this fabric just likes to flop wherever, like my cat.
One of these, like...
With all 4 pieces sewn together, I had a massive circle. It was outrageously long. Like, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair long. Like, I'm having a party at the used car dealership long. Like, spend the next 14,000 seconds of your life rolling and pinning the hem long.
There's a lot.
I sewed all the way around the hem, another couple thousand seconds, took out all 12 hajillion pins, then sewed back all the way around the other side of the circle using stitches approximately the length of the Nile River, or as close as my machine could get. Long stitches are really good for gathering ruffles. And you know what? Mr. Meows just slept through the whole thing. Just to keep the skirt as light as possible, I cut away the extra fabric from the seams. I pinned the center back of my ruffle to the center back of my skirt, go figure, and started slowly and gently pulling the loose threads to gather it down to match. Very slowly. Very gently. Because breaking the thread would basically mean starting all over, and doing things twice is the worst. I cut away all the extra fabric on the lining as well, then pinned it to the other side, making a nice little ruffle sandwich with all the right edges facing each other. It makes a pretty bulky looking sandwich, but the best sandwiches are messy? I don't know, somebody told me that once, but I'm not much of a sandwich person. I sewed all 3 layers together, then figured out how to flip it all right side out, and if I did it right, yep, this is a skirt. We just need to test that swoosh. I had to sew the ruffle in below the gather line to keep it from showing, so there's a large amount of extra fabric here, and guess what? I cut it away too. I feel a little like the captain of a sinking ship shouting away, anything that can be thrown overboard will be thrown overboard. But you do what you gotta do. Then I threw the skirt at my machine. I sewed another gather line around the top of the skirt, and I ran out of thread. Yep, which is just about as bad as breaking it. I guess I'm doing it again, but I can save you from having to watch. Run now! Just kidding, stay here. It was finally time to attach the skirt to the top, which I did almost exactly the same way that I connected the ruffle to the skirt, except I carefully matched the green pieces of the top to the green pieces of the skirt and the yellow pieces of the top to the yellow pieces of the skirt, and then I gathered that skirt and pinned the lining in for a nice skirt sandwich. this one looks a little more like a burrito. Before I sewed anything, I tried my dress on, which was good because it was still in the cute mess phase and I had 2 things I really needed to fix. First problem, the waistline was too low by this much, and I'm just not a fan of that look. Second problem, this neckline. It's backwards. I need to unpin the lining and turn it around. I pinned the skirt 3 inches higher and cut away all that extra. Heave ho! Then I spent a while flipping the lining back and forth, making sure I knew which way was forward, and I pinned it back into the dress. The next time I tried it on, it was much better. I sewed the top to the skirt with a zigzag stitch, and then, say it with me, cut away the extra fabric. But you know, I'm still thinking this weighs a little too much, like just a hair. So I cut a mouse's pizza slice out of the top at the center front and pinned the edges inside out. I sewed just that little bit and flipped it back right side out. All that was left to do was finish the neck and hem the sleeves. I sliced off yellow strips about as wide as a candy bar and as long as I felt like. Really, that's how I've been doing this whole thing. And pinned 1 strip all the way around the neckline, making sure I left the pizza slice still looking like a pizza slice. Now here, I don't actually remember whether I was trying to talk Mr. Meowse into finishing my project for me or just convince him to give me back my dang chair, but I ended up personally escorting him to his favorite cat tree and giving him an absurd amount of pets and scritches, so I think he won. I sewed the yellow strip into a loop, then stitched it down all around the neck. They say going in circles doesn't get you anywhere, but I counted, and so far I've sewed in 6 circles, and it's gotten me really close to making a dress, so. I flipped the other side of the yellow strip around to the back, folded the edge under, and sewed it down. If you don't understand what I did, just know that at the end, the yellow strip was 1/4 as wide as it was originally, and just work your way backward from there, I guess? Pardon me while I look very impressed with myself. I literally took a break here to brag to AJ about how great this neckline turned out on the first try. He was pretty proud of me. And then I did the exact same thing on both sleeves. Except I broke a needle on the first sleeve and pseudo swore. Yikes. Someone commented on my last video, all excited because they noticed I just sew over my pins and they didn't know that you could do that. And my friends, you can. And I do all the time, but only because I like to play Icarus in every part of my life and flirt with that wild, glowing sun, or in this case, increase my chances of breaking a needle by 9,999%. The moral of the story is, of course, always listen to Daedalus, but the moral of my story is that if Icarus had been given a second pair of wings, he would have flown straight back to the sun because, as you can see, I am still sewing right over those pins, just much more slowly. This is how I make a dress. Look who couldn't even wait for me to wear my dress before he got cat fur all over it.
Thank you so much for watching. I had a little too much fun making this dress. I hope you had fun watching as well. If you did, why don't you leave me a like or a comment, or maybe even consider subscribing to see what I'm gonna make next.